You did not crack under pressure. You met yourself under pressure, and you did not like what you found. That is the real wound, not the pressure itself. Not the deadline, the diagnosis, the fight, the failure. The wound is the moment after, when the storm passed and you stood in the wreckage of your own behavior and asked, "Who was that?" You snapped at someone who didn't deserve it. You ran from something you swore you'd face. You said words you cannot take back, made a choice you cannot unmake, went quiet when you should have spoken, spoke when you should have gone still. And in that aftermath, the comfortable story you'd been telling about yourself, that you were patient, that you were brave, that you were someone who held together when it mattered, that story had a crack in it. Most people patch the crack immediately. They say, "I wasn't myself." They say, "That's not who I am." They say, "I was under so much pressure." Marcus Aurelius would stop you right there. He was the most powerful man on earth, Emperor of Rome, commanding armies on the frozen Danube frontier, while plague tore through his capital. Managing senators who wanted him dead, generals who wanted his throne, a son who was becoming a monster. And every morning, not in a private memoir meant for posterity, not in a letter he expected anyone to read, he wrote to himself, correcting himself, catching himself, holding up a mirror to every small betrayal of his own principles. He didn't write. The pressure was extraordinary. He wrote, "What did I do?" Because he understood something that the modern world has spent tremendous energy trying to obscure. Pressure is not a forge, it is a lamp. A forge makes something new. A lamp shows what is already there. Pressure does not build your character, it illuminates it. Every crisis, every conflict, every moment when the ground gives way, these are not tests of who you could become. They are revelations of who you already are. Right now, today, before you've done a single thing to change it. That is the uncomfortable thing Marcus is handing you. Not a self-help promise, not a program, a mirror. And the mirror does not have the courtesy to wait until you're ready. Think about the last time everything collapsed at once. Not a minor inconvenience, a real collapse. Money, or health, or a relationship, or a job, or your sense of what your life was supposed to look like. What was your first move? Not your considered move. Not the one you described to a friend. The first one. The animal one. Did you reach for your phone to avoid the silence? Did you find someone to blame before you'd even assessed the damage? Did you make a promise you knew you couldn't keep just to make the discomfort stop? Did you disappear? That move, the first one, the fast one, the one that came before thought, that is your character, right now, in its current condition. Marcus didn't believe in the version of you that you're planning to become. He believed in the version of you that showed up this morning. And this morning's version, that is what the lamp reveals. The good news and the bad news are the same thing. If pressure reveals character rather than building it, then no amount of future hardship will fix what is wrong right now. But if you understand what pressure reveals, you can choose to work on it before the next storm arrives. You can choose to be a different person when the lamp turns on. The question is whether you want to know what the lamp is currently showing, because Marcus will tell you, and he will not be gentle about it. If these words carved an echo within your void, do not turn back. The descent has just begun. Click below, subscribe, and claim your reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Greek, to himself, in stolen hours before dawn and after battle. The meditations were never meant to be published. That matters. A man performing philosophy for an audience writes differently than a man trying to save himself from himself. He called the governing faculty of the mind the hegemonikon, the ruling part. This is not a metaphor. For Marcus, the hegemonikon is the actual seat of your character. It is what directs attention, forms judgments, and generates the impulses that become your actions. And here is the central claim of his entire philosophy. You are not your circumstances. You are the condition of your hegemonikon. Let that land before we move on. A soldier gets terrible news from the front. His hometown has been sacked. He has two men standing next to him who receive the same news at the same moment. One goes immediately to despair and rage. One grieves, steadies himself, and begins to plan. The news is identical. The circumstances are identical. What is different is the interior condition they each brought to the moment. Their hegemonikon, trained or untrained, ordered or disordered, disciplined or fragile. The pressure did not create either response. It revealed them. Marcus called this the discipline of assent. Every external event arrives first as an impression, a raw automatic signal. Something happens. Before it becomes a feeling, before it becomes a judgment, before it becomes a choice, it is just an impression. Marcus believed, and trained himself to practice, that there is a gap between the impression and the assent. And in that gap, everything about character lives. Most people have never found that gap. The impression hits and the response fires automatically, and they call this reaction as though it were weather, as though they had no part in it. You get an email from your manager criticizing your work. The impression arrives, and immediately, before you've even finished reading, your stomach tightens. A story about being undervalued begins assembling itself, and you're already composing a defensive response in your head. What happened in that gap? Nothing. There was no gap. The impression and the assent fused instantly. That fusion is what Marcus is diagnosing. Not weakness, not failure. A condition, the condition of an untrained hegemonikon. He used a specific word for the untrained version, terashe, disturbance. The soul in disturbance is at the mercy of every event that passes through it. Not because the events are powerful, but because the interior has no structure to receive them without being overrun. Here is where most people make the fundamental error. They think, I need fewer bad things to happen to me. They think, if the pressure would just decrease, I would finally be the person I want to be. Marcus thought the opposite. He actively sought the difficult thing, not because he was a masochist, but because he understood that the difficult thing was a diagnostic. It was information. The Danube frontier in winter, with men dying of plague around him, was not something Marcus endured in spite of his philosophy. It was the philosophy being tested in real conditions. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Not inspiration, diagnosis. The obstacle doesn't strengthen you. It shows you where you are weak. And where you are weak is precisely where the work needs to be done. Think about the relationship in your life that reliably pulls you off center. The person who, without trying, manages to make you smaller, more defensive, more reactive, more brittle. You've probably spent time wishing they were different, wishing the relationship were different, wishing you didn't have to deal with them at all. Marcus would say, this person is your most honest teacher, not because they are good for you in some cosmic sense, but because they are showing you exactly where your hegemonikon has not yet developed the structure to remain sovereign. The disturbance is not the problem. The disturbance is the lamp. And right now, whatever is disturbing you most is not asking you to become someone better eventually. It is asking what you are made of right now. The answer is already written. In your first responses, in your automatic behavior, in the gap you haven't found yet. But if the condition of your hegemonikon is the diagnosis, then the condition of your hegemonikon can be changed. That is what part 3 is going to cost you to understand. You came here believing something. Maybe you didn't say it out loud, but it was there, underneath. You believed that the problem is your circumstances, that if the pressure were different, less intense, less frequent, less unfair, you would be different. Better, more like the person you imagine yourself to be in your quieter moments. Marcus Aurelius doesn't just disagree with this, he inverts it. Your circumstances are not making you who you are. They are displaying who you already are, every single time. And here is the cut that goes deeper than the first one. The version of yourself you imagine in your quieter moments. Patient, composed, principled, free. That version may not exist yet. You have been mistaking a fantasy for a self. The lamp does not lie. The lamp shows the room as it is. A man believes he is generous. He gives when giving is easy. When he has surplus, when someone is watching, when the gesture costs him nothing he values. Then something threatens his security. A financial shock, a sudden scarcity, and the generosity. Where did it go? It was never a character trait. It was a behavior that required favorable conditions. The lamp just revealed the difference. You are not your best intentions. You are your behavior under pressure. That is the equation Marcus runs throughout the meditations. And he runs it on himself without mercy. He does not let himself hide behind his intentions. He wrote to himself, "Do not tell yourself what kind of person you are. Look at what you do. Now bring back the lamp." The first time the lamp appeared, it was bright and simple. Pressure is not a forge. It is a lamp. It illuminates what is already there. You could still receive that as something almost comfortable, as an invitation to look. Here is the sharper form. The lamp does not just illuminate, it judges. Because whatever the lamp reveals is not some external accident that happened to you. It is what you built or failed to build across every ordinary day that came before the crisis. Character is not a response to pressure. It is the accumulated residue of every small choice you made when no one was watching and nothing was at stake. Every time you chose comfort over honesty in a low-stakes conversation, you were making a deposit. Every time you let a minor injustice pass because confronting it was inconvenient, you were building something. Every time you chose the easy version of a hard thing, the shortened workout, the softened truth, the deferred conversation, you were laying down material. And then the pressure came, and the lamp turned on. And what you saw was the building you'd constructed out of all those small choices. That is the darkest implication of Marcus's philosophy. There is no such thing as a character that rises to the occasion. There is only the character you have been building in the ordinary moments, meeting the extraordinary one. A woman sits in a hospital room with a parent who is dying. She has her whole adult life of emotional habits with her in that room. Every time she changed the subject, instead of staying in the discomfort. Every time she protected herself, instead of staying present. Every time she chose the easier emotion. All of it is with her in that room. The crisis didn't ask her to become someone new. It asked her to be exactly who she'd been making herself, quietly, for years. The way through is not a technique, it is a reckoning. You have to look at what the lamp has shown you, honestly, without flinching, without immediately reaching for a self-explanation that makes you the victim of circumstances. And you have to say, "This is who I have been building." Not, "This is who I am forever." Marcus never believed that. He believed in the hegemonikon as improvable, trainable, capable of being rebuilt over time through deliberate practice. But first, before the rebuilding, the reckoning. You were not at your worst because the pressure was too much. You were at your worst because the ordinary days had not prepared you to be anything more. That truth will either close you or it will open you. It is the only one worth living with. Weapon 1. The evening audit. You are already doing an audit. You are doing it wrong. Most people review the day by running a highlight reel. The wins, the witty things they said, the moments they felt capable. Marcus reviewed the day as a philosopher reviewing evidence. He asked 3 questions, recorded in his own practice, and echoed by the Stoics who surrounded him. What did I do? What did I fail to do? What should I have done instead? This is not journaling. This is cross-examination. The discomfort is built into the structure. You are required to locate specifically the moment you failed your own standard. Not a vague sense that the day wasn't perfect. Not a general feeling that you could have done better. The exact moment. The exact behavior. The exact gap between who you acted as and who you intend to be. A man argues with his partner. The conversation escalates. He says something cruel. She goes quiet. The damage is done. That evening he journals, had a hard day, need to work on communication. That is not the audit. The audit is, at 7:43 in the kitchen, I felt cornered, and instead of staying in the discomfort of that feeling, I chose cruelty as an exit. That was a failure of the discipline of assent. Tomorrow I will practice finding the gap. Specific, uncomfortable, actionable. The evening audit demands you name what the lamp revealed precisely before you are allowed to sleep. Marcus did this every night. He did it while commanding an empire. You have time. Weapon 2, voluntary friction. Marcus had a concept he practiced called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulties, not pessimism, training. Before a difficult meeting, he would mentally rehearse, not the ideal outcome, but the realistic worst one. Someone interrupts him. Someone disrespects him. Someone gives bad news. And in the rehearsal, he practiced the response he intended to give, not the automatic one, the chosen one. Here is the weapon. Manufacture the conditions that reveal your weaknesses before the real stakes arrive. Go without the thing you rely on most for 2 days, not as deprivation for its own sake, but to expose what happens to your patience, your focus, your kindness, when that crutch is absent. If you rely on alcohol to soften social situations, attend one sober. If you rely on your phone to escape silence, sit with the silence for an hour. If you rely on the approval of a specific person to feel confident, make a decision they won't like and carry it without their validation. The discomfort you feel in those moments is information. It is the lamp showing you the exact place where your hegemonikon has not yet been trained to remain sovereign. Voluntary friction is not punishment. It is diagnostic testing before the real exam. Marcus didn't wait for Rome to burn to find out if he could lead through fire. He made the cold his companion in winter campaigns, the austere meal his practice, the insolent senator his training in patience. Every voluntary discomfort shrank the gap between his chosen character and his automatic behavior. You are asking the lamp to show you controlled conditions before it shows you the catastrophic ones. Weapon 3. The standard before the storm. Here is what Marcus called a hypomnema, a written reminder, not an affirmation, a standard. The difference: an affirmation tells you who you want to be. A standard tells you what you have already committed to being, and it was written before the pressure arrived. Sit down before the next difficult thing you can foresee, the hard conversation you keep postponing, the project that is about to go wrong. The family event you already know will test you. Write the standard you intend to hold. Not a goal, not an aspiration, but a commitment. In this situation, I will not raise my voice. I will not deflect the difficult question. I will not make a decision based on how I will appear. Specific behaviors, committed to in advance. Then, when the moment arrives, you are not deciding who to be under pressure. You are executing a prior decision. The gap between impression and assent already has something in it, the standard you wrote when you were calm enough to know what you actually value. Marcus did this in the Meditations constantly. He wrote his standards to himself. Remember, you have chosen patience. Not because he was weak, but because he knew that the pressure of a moment will always try to overwrite what you decided in the quiet. The standard is the armor you put on before the battle, not during it. Weapon 4, the character witness. Look at the person you are most defensive around. Not the person you dislike, not the person you find difficult. The person whose specific opinion of you you most urgently want to correct, or manage, or shape. The person who, when they look at you with a particular expression, makes you shrink or sharpen. That person is showing you something Marcus would consider essential data. He wrote about this obliquely but consistently. The things that provoke us are seldom arbitrary. They touch something. The thing that makes you most defensive is usually the thing you are most privately uncertain about. The accusation that enrages you is often, not always, but often, the one you cannot entirely dismiss. This weapon is the hardest one, because it requires you to treat your defensiveness not as a signal that you are being wronged, but as a signal that something needs examining. Look at what they are implying. Ask whether there is anything in it. Not to capitulate to unfair criticism. Marcus was not a pushover. He led armies. But to extract the diagnostic information from the provocation before you discard it. The character witness is the person who sees the version of you that you are working hardest not to be. They are uncomfortable. They may be unkind. They may be wrong about everything except the one thing they happen to be accidentally right about. Find that one thing. The rest you can lay down. That one thing is a gift. Come back to the beginning. You cracked under pressure. You met yourself under pressure. You did not like what you found. That was the wound. And you have been living inside it, maybe for years, telling yourself that the pressure was exceptional, that the circumstances were unfair, that you would be different when things calmed down. You have been protecting the story of who you intend to be against the evidence of who you actually showed up as. Marcus would not let you keep the story, not because he was cruel, but because the story is exactly what keeps you from the thing you actually want, to be someone who holds together when it matters. Not eventually, now. The lamp is still on. It has been on this whole time. It will be on tomorrow morning when the first difficult thing arrives. The inbox full of pressure, the conversation you've been avoiding, the version of yourself that shows up before you've had time to think. Here is the moment, not a summary, a scene. Tomorrow, something goes wrong before 9 a.m. Something small enough that you'd normally absorb it automatically, and something large enough that your first instinct fires immediately. Irritation, anxiety, the urge to escape or attack. You feel the impression arrive, the familiar tightening, and this time, just this once, you don't fuse immediately with it. Not because you've transcended the reaction, because you've been practicing the gap, because last night you did the audit and you named the exact moment you failed your standard, because you wrote the standard down before the difficulty arrived, because you've been spending voluntary time in conditions that build the gap wider, one uncomfortable session at a time. The impression arrives, and you find, for a fraction of a second longer than before. A gap. In that gap, you are not who pressure made you. You are who you have been building yourself to be in the ordinary time between pressures. The accumulated weight of the small choices, the audits, the friction, the standards you set when you were calm enough to know what you value. You make the chosen response instead of the automatic one. It is not perfect. It does not feel like a victory. It feels like effort, like something held together through will rather than ease. That is character, not built by the pressure, not revealed by the pressure as a finished thing, built in the quiet, tested by the lamp, refined in the aftermath, built again. The hegemonikon in training, never complete, always improvable, the work of the ordinary day, which is the only day that ever actually exists. Marcus wrote to himself, in a moment no one was ever supposed to read, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you find strength. Not comfort, not resolution, strength. The lamp is on. What is it showing you?"